So do you guys want a more technical presentation or more high level? So then I can try to talk more about the architecture of the product and why it makes sense. And CTO for Skyflow. We are a little bit older than 4 years, headquartered in Bay Area, but we have a big engineering team in India. And I'm trying to split my time between the two time zones and trying to make it work. So today we are going to talk about safeguarding sensitive data in the age of generative AI. So not that the slides matter a whole lot. So if you are hearing things, or if you talk to people, you know that LLM is probably on everybody's mind. So I think we'll soon have a lot of agents. I think ChatGPT made it so big that everybody at least knows about it, and people who are not even in technology, right? So people who are, yeah. I think it came up and then. So this slides don't. The slide just has a picture of a stone. So we are going to talk about like how privacy plays a role in this whole LLM concept. Because if you think about enterprises, a lot of enterprises want to step into use LLMs cases, but they are just not sure where their data will land up. What are the places where they will get dinged later on, like be it compliance, be it losing their proprietary data. So those are kind of some of the problem statements that we plan to address with something called a data privacy vault. I'll wait for the slides to come. So how many of you have heard this concept, data privacy vault? Yeah. Cool. So, vault. So that's good. It's more than zero. So when we started this company, we said that we have a non-zero chance of success. So non-zero is good. How many of you still save your passwords in a database? Yeah. So, and maybe you can encrypt it, right? So, yeah. We are defining a new, so PII is a different kind of a data, but it never had its own world, or it was not a different type. So passwords, secrets, people figured out, okay, we cannot save passwords in, say, code or say text files, right? PII is still people are struggling with. Where does it belong and how to deal with it? So we are just saying that we should treat PII as a separate unit, as a separate segment. And then what we see with PII become much simpler. So, okay. Till they start, I'll tell you a story. So, most people have like diamonds, hopefully, and some like regular cheese and crackers, right? So, imagine a world where if you put your diamonds and cheese together, how do you protect it? Like any way you try to, so basically think access control. So if you put very valuable things and things which are used at a very different rate or by different people, there is no good way to protect it. Either you limit the use of cheese, which is like everybody should be able to use it, or you make it incredibly hard to protect the diamonds. So that in some sense is kind of the philosophy of why data isolated, like why passwords got isolated from databases, why secrets got isolated from the rest of the data, and why, in our opinion, PII should be separated out of the regular data. So, is that working? So every 10 years or so, we see a big revolution in the industry. So if you go back to the 1960s, I think we probably were in the mainframe time frame, right? Then in the 1970s, we got PCs and everything changed, right? Everybody could write their own program. Internet was 1990s, and was one of the biggest revolution. I was actually kind of in college during that time, where LAN became a thing. So I was in Kharagpur, middle of nowhere. There was nothing to do apart from like meet with friends and socialize. When we got LAN in our dorm rooms, first of all, we realized that, okay, you can search the internet, you can, the way we consume, we stopped going to the libraries, we kind of use the internet. But the way people interacted with changed. So people were spending a lot more time in their rooms on their desktops, and they were actually interacting on like online messaging systems. It was not very fancy those days, but they were still doing online messaging rather than in-person communication. That created a market opportunity. Some smart people looked at it and thought that, okay, social media platform can be a thing, right? And if those are the days when Orkut kind of came up, then failed, Facebook took over. So it is just to say that when big things happen, either people who get in front of it, they make a lot of success. People who fall behind, they go through a lot of pain. So the next one was the mobile era, which was like 10 years after that. I was working for Microsoft that time, and Microsoft was quite late. The mobile and both the cloud and the mobile. So if you realize that it was only after Satya took over Microsoft, he came in and said mobile first and cloud first. Before that, people were still kind of catching up. There was this whole Windows Phone thing which did not work out. So this is all to say that LLM is the next big thing, and there are a lot of opportunities that will come up. So I think we can skip a couple of slides. Yeah. So cloud was also very interesting. If you remember that for banks never moved to cloud, but now they are. So people realize finally that using public cloud is okay. It is secure enough. You still own your data. Nobody is stealing your data. And it doesn't make sense for everybody to build out all the infrastructure and all the deployment facilities and all the tool sets that you get from cloud. So rate of innovation suffers. This is actually quite relevant to LLMs, because one of the debates that is going on now is who should build the core models, the foundation. I'll get to that a little bit later more, because it again, it's great for actually now Microsoft and AWS and everybody who owns a cloud. If everybody builds their own foundation models, the money flows to the providers. So how much to reuse? And one of the motivating factors for why people want to build their foundation models. So So I think we've kind of covered it. So ChatGPT is probably the biggest innovation in the last few years. It gave us an opportunity to have a conversation with a system. Before that, it was not really possible. Many people, even like a basic question on work, but now people have already started, all search engines will have more and more of this generative AI algorithms in it. So, so there are, now you can create content using LLMs, and you can also start writing code. So there is a notion going on, as usual, like whenever there is something new, there is all notions that will AI work. On one side, we say that, hey, AI might never work. People are the accuracy is not really known. And the other side, people say that, oh, developers will lose their jobs because now the computer can write all the code for you. I can assure you it's not going to happen, or not at least anytime soon. What they can give us, and this is true for most of what AI is, a good starting point. You'll still have to go and edit. You'll still have to give it the final shape so that it covers 100% of the cases. I was actually doing self-driving before this, and self-driving level 5 full autonomy, people wanted to do it, but it's still not possible, and it will still probably be a while where we get to it. What happens is you kind of teach the AI to handle more and more use cases. They can perform better and better given more and more data. If you think about ChatGPT, what happened over the years, and by the way, LLM, so my first slide is actually not true, in the sense that generative AI is not new. So the first chatbot that was made was in 1960, and that was the basis for, so I see some people nodding their heads. So that was the first initial LLM that was thought about. This is just a phase where AI is kind of now the hype cycle. So I don't follow the hype cycle that much, but I think this one is real in the sense that it's going to impact in every way how users interact with the system, with the enterprises. So that's why generative AI is going to be important. So even IBM is trying to make sure that it is AI ML space. And I think in the morning somebody talked about Notion AI. So they are also making sure that how much they can kind of put AI into your normal workflows. So you can write some text, you can kind of make it better. So I think we already kind of covered this. So now let's talk about, so everybody wants to use it. What are the problems that needs to be solved before generative AI can be used everywhere? So one is definitely the cost. We are not going to look at it. The second thing in my mind, and why enterprises are not stepping into it right away, is because of privacy. So if you look at any other data, everything is even like a text-based password, you can still delete them. And when you put data into a LLM model, there is nowhere to delete it. And I want to repeat it as many times as I can, because people who don't realize that, it will bite them at the end of the day. This is also, if you remember the GDPR days, so people had to go through a lot of pain when GDPR came in and when they had to satisfy right to be forgotten. In a world where you have all your LLMs and you have spent like $150 million training your foundation model, and then somebody says that we need a button to delete, you just cannot do it. So, so we have instances where ChatGPT has been banned. The next slide actually shows that some of the companies had actually banned ChatGPT. They have reversed most of it. People have realized that it's okay. But so as the ecosystem is growing, some people are trying to put in like a standard architectural stack. But if you realize, so don't have to read all the details. There is no block that says anything about privacy or security. So they are talking about orchestration layer, how the data comes in, how like you will save all your, but privacy is still not in the picture. So in the next one, Salesforce came up with an architecture where at least they put in a box saying security and privacy for the data. So this is good, but this is also applicable for the data or for companies where the primary source of data is Salesforce. But as we know that Salesforce is one form of data. So, so this is again what Google has come up with. And if you look at it, there is no talk about privacy. And the next one is like about AWS. So, so one of the solutions that people are kind of talking about is we will build our own foundation model in our own VPC. But if you think about it, it is just isolating the model. It is not doing anything with access control. It is not, it is almost connecting back to the cloud world. It is almost thinking like on-prem versus cloud. So it's not giving you any extra features. So I think ChatGPT came up with Enterprise, where they will assure you that they're not using their data models. But that's about it. It doesn't take care of, so this is kind of the definition of privacy, that who can see your data, when can they see the data, for how long. That is not addressed. So I think I kind of covered when I was trying to use up the time. So we have encryption keys, secrets, passwords. So all those things got addressed. Sensitive PII data, it should not belong in all data. When you club them together, there is no good way to solve that problem. For access control, for who can see the data in what form. So we'll talk about fine-grained policy, policy-based access control in a little bit. So this is also kind of what we talked about beginning. So this was the standard data architecture, that you have your application, data comes in, you have your load balancer, it goes to your backend, and it goes to the database. So that's the first part, and then you have like ETL, and I think probably most of the room is more interested in the latter part of the diagram. You do your ETL, it goes into your data warehouses, probably a Snowflake or Databricks, and then you do more analytics and machine learning on top of it. What happens is PII is scattered throughout the entire diagram. And even if you think about GDPR, it was a problem. It was more of a problem, bigger problem, because of the data being scattered all over the world, all over this diagram. So this IEEE published this paper without us getting involved, where they put that data privacy vault into the picture. What it meant is there is a clear separation of PII, and what goes back in third flow is basically tokens. So once you put the tokens into your system, the rest of the system still behaves the same way. So nothing in the system change. But so let's just take a use case, right? The machine learning algorithms. So a lot of algorithms, a lot of people have access to the analytics. But how many times do you really need to know somebody's SSN or Aadhaar card number to run your machine learning models? Not many times. You probably just need a unique identifier. So So that's one part. And this diagram, of course, like IEEE came out with it and we haven't modified it. So if you think about it, as you are putting the data into the data privacy vault, you can of course do it at the application front-end level, which is the best. But you can also, so from any of the boxes, you can data privacy vault. So what we are building, we are fully SaaS solution with API based. So be it the ETL, be it from the backend, you can, at whatever point you want to isolate the data, you can. So what we are seeing amongst our customers why I bring it up is, it is not always possible to application upfront. So, and the big banks, what they're doing is moving their ETL portion, the data warehouse portion to the cloud. So it's also a very good place to act and at least protect part of your data architecture, data pipeline. So, yeah, I think. So this is kind of what we built. So you have all your PII data on the left. As you want to process this data, so do you have a question? So what we do here is comes into the data privacy vault. So think about it as a create or an insert option. The data stays in the vault. What you get back are tokens. Now, when you want to look at the data, right? Be it when you want to do a join, or you want to just say make a phone call or make a payment, you need the actual credit card number or the phone number, depending on if you have access to it or not. And this is very fine-grained. So you can say that the support department has access to the last four of the SSN, marketing department access to the email because they want to send email, but they don't have access to the SSN at all because marketing department doesn't need it. This, and again, I'll keep going back to isolation and why this works so much better when you have, say, 10 fields. PI data normally varies between like 3-4 fields to 10-15 fields. You will never see a table with 200 PI fields, like probably keep all that data and call it PI. So if you try to do this without the vault, so technically it can be done, right? But it's not feasible. So every database actually has some kind of access control, some kind of roles and what kind of policies, little bit, most databases support. But nobody, how many of you guys use it to actually say that my data is protected because I've used this? So, cool. So we have non-zero. So technically it is true. So, and like, would you go as far as to say that, hey, we will never need tokenization because just access control is protecting all of it, right? So, you guys wanted to, so this is the primary architecture. So if you have any questions, I think this is a good place to about it, because the rest of it I can, it's not much, yeah. Yep.
So is basically the Skyflow help you find the flow once we select the columns as a PII, or does it by default figure out that these are the columns which have PII?
So for other use cases, you basically create the vault, you create a schema, you call basically insert API with, like, in a JSON format, field name, value, field value. So we are not, for the LLM use case, actually, we do the detection, we find out what kind of data it is, we replace it with similar looking data. If you want it to look similar, if you can replace it by a UUID, if it doesn't matter what.
So Snowflake has a similar functionality. The only problem is it works very well with US-based PII data and European-based, but the moment you start trying to put names or
Yeah.
Aadhaar card numbers, etc., it really does not handle.
Yes. So we have, like, I think at some point we had 300 Skyflow data types. So we have actually reduced it because it was getting very confusing. But it's very easy for us to handle any kind of data because it's just a JSON kind of template which defines what type is it, what kind of tokenization you want, what kind of redaction you want. Before I forget, like why this is protected, we have also come up with something called polymorphic encryption, which encrypts the data in many different ways. And for every operation, we actually create a respective encryption. So like AES encryption is good for equality, preserving is good for greater than, less than. We have like homomorphic, which is you can do many more calculations like summation, multiplication. And we also kind of create various different kinds of tokens which are useful in different contexts. So we can even, like, if you want to do a comparison for the last 4 of SSN, we actually create an encryption for it so that you can do the operation, equality operation, in encrypted text. So that's kind of one of the special sauce we have for the vault, which protects and we don't actually decrypt the data till we have to send back the results. So actually I'll cover one more slide before I'll take some more questions. Yeah.
So when the PII is being pushed to the vault, what is this access control you were earlier doing here?
So this access control is a little bit simpler, but even to insert the data, you need, we make sure that you are allowed to put in the data. So this whole architecture is built on top of just control system where we do authentication and authorization at every step. So you cannot even like add data. So we even have something called context aware authorization. So we can even say that if the name is present in your JOT token, then only you can add that row or you can update that row. So we can even.
Sorry, just trying to understand. Is this like a database that you're storing the PII data there, or?
It is a data management system. It like a vault, but it's so if you think about passwords, it does get saved in some form of a database, right? So, but the database is really opaque to the user. They access it through APIs, but yeah, underlying we have like Postgres and Mongo and stuff like that. So it's a privacy-aware database, you can say.
You basically submit your PI to Vault.
Yes.
Based on requirement you get.
Yes. So you can click on it. You can. We have connections. You can API calls. So just to, I have to cover the LLM slide because I have to justice to the topic. So in LLM also, what we do is, as the data is coming in, we pass it to the data privacy vault. We redact or de-identify the whole data, and then only the data goes to the your training models. So what it means is no PI has ever gone to the your LLM models, so it doesn't matter. And if you go to the next slide, so what happens is you can replace it with tokens. So the LLM models will actually have, when you are actually doing the prompt engineering or when you do inference, you will get back the tokens, which is meaningless to you. And if you have access, if you have the privileges to detokenize, then you can look at the real value. So what we have done is separated out, we have protected the, because it never touches your LLM models. So it completely sits in the vault, which we have proven that architecture works. So we have kind of married into with the LLM. So I think we can take questions. So the rest is.
I think you mentioned that you have a detokenizing facility, right? Like
Yes.
If you're working on general model, like let's say ChatGPT, how do you enable this?
So ChatGPT, if you want to enable it, like you basically write a thin shim on top of it, right? So as the data is flowing into Chat, when you're calling the ChatGPT APIs, you are like training the model. You de-identify the data, like the first slide that we saw, and then send it to. So you want to fine-tune the models, right?
So our concerns have always been lied with the model passing on the data to the model.
Yes, so you are passing de-identified data. So you're not passing in the real data to the models anymore.
See, that's one side, but then also you lose a lot of analytics, right? Let's say the date of birth, if you convert it to redacted or thing, then you're also losing the what can you possibly identify?
Yes.
And then it's hard ask.
So good point. So we have a customer in healthcare, and I think got mentioned in some of the previous sessions. So if you are collecting, say, medical data, then the absolute dates are not important, but the relative dates for a patient becomes important. That when were they first diagnosed, and when was the second time they came in, what was the medication that was given. So we do case by case. So we just add a random number to the date. So it becomes non-identifiable, but at the same time, what you need the model to do, you don't lose that.
So you'll retain some value in terms of a replacement.
Anyone?
One question, right? So we have display data in our data. So this Skyflow requires a data registration into at a query level or read level only, or it actually converts the data that we are actually storing in data by identifying the data and pushing out.
Yes, so your data remains there, but what we suggest is you basically take the PI out of it, push that into Skyflow, and you put the tokens back into your system if you need them. So the S.
Storage as well as it's not only read time kind of thing. It's
The full storage, yeah. So that's why, like somebody asked, like you can think about it as like a privacy aware database. You can think about it as like a managed service where you get like APIs to for CRUD on your data, on your PI data.